This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the PCCWeb webinar to introduce you to a few features of the PCCWeb and how to build your website with us. This webinar, as you have heard, will be recorded and will be posted following the webinar for you and others to make reference. I advise you to please mute your microphones if you haven't already, just to avoid any background noise that we might experience. You will be able to ask questions using the chat feature of the webinar in the control panel. Sylvia Brad perhaps will be listening in. She's our communications program coordinator, and she'll be monitoring your questions and will be able to address them at the end of the webinar. So as you can see on the screen is our page for PCCWeb that introduces you to what PCCWeb is and how to get started. Let's see, some of the key things to point out is that what it is and what it is really for. So the PCCWeb is for our ministries of the Presbyterian Church in Canada. And so if you are part of that group, of course, you can sign up for a website and right at this page. So right here we have a sign up button, which will take you to a form which you can fill in with all the basic information that will come directly to us, and we will get a website initiated for you. For those who either have never worked with a website, we have tutorials, video tutorials here, as well as an easy guide to help step you through you working with our website. And our website is based on the WordPress content management system. This is a sample of the page of the video tutorials. These video tutorials can also be accessed through your own individual websites, which I will show you once we get in there. And this is the easy WordPress guide manual, which you can also access. This gets updated with every core WordPress software update, so it stays current for us. So some of the key things or questions you may have in mind when you're thinking about getting a website with PCCWeb is like, what are the limitations? What can I expect? You can see here. When you have your own website, typically you can dive in and dig into the code if you are comfortable in doing so. This feature is turned off for just for security and make things a little bit easier for you. There is no access to FTP, if you're familiar with that. That's file transfer protocol, which allows you to upload files directly from your computer to your website. This is done through the WordPress content management system. So you will still be able to upload your sermons or documents, PDFs, etc., but just not through an FTP software program. Themes, you will have a choice of a few themes with the WordPress, but they are limited to the themes that we have available on the network. Email, if you do have email, such as with your own domain name, we do not provide email services with PCCWeb, but you can secure that through external services like Gmail, Hotmail, Microsoft, so on. And if you do have another website existing and you want to transfer it to PCCWeb, we don't provide that service, but once you sign up for a website with PCCWeb, you'll be starting from scratch, building it on that platform. And let me see another one. All our websites themes that we have with WordPress are responsive. So whatever you build on your desktop computer will be able to be seen on either a tablet or a smartphone without being skewed or looking strange. I mentioned earlier as well the domain name. So when you do get started with a website with PCCWeb, your domain URL or your address will be pccweb.ca / your church name, for example. Now, if you want to eliminate the PCCWeb.ca part of it, you can purchase a domain name for your own that's custom, whatever your church name may be, .ca or .com, etc. And I can work with you in order to get that set up and then have it directed to our server where we host your website. Let me see another thing. Oh yeah, storage space, which is also another question. We have storage space limited to 1 gigabyte of storage. So that is plenty to get a really decent website for your church on there. If you're looking for more space, you would have to set up a website at an external service. But there are great ways that you can make sure you're making the best use of the storage space that you have, such as if you do have a video that you want to put up on your website, we usually recommend setting up a YouTube channel and then just embedding the video into your website. This way you make the good use of the YouTube's streaming servers, which we do not have on our server. The streaming server makes your website, or sorry, the video load a lot faster and not buffer too much. All right, so let's just sort of move on. So I'll take a look at one of our sample websites that we have. It's called Your Presbyterian Church. It's all set up with a lot of the key features and information which are advantageous to a church website to help people find out the information they need about your church, how to find you, what you're all about. Now, when you log in, you'll get into the dashboard. And this is the first thing you will see. So within the dashboard, you have the admin menu panel down the left-hand side. This is where you will go to work with all your settings. What I mentioned before, where you see the video tutorials within your site, that's right here under Dashboard, Video Tutorials, and that'll take you to the same video tutorial. So you can either see them on the Presbyterian.ca website, where I mentioned before, or you can get them within your website. The at a glance section shows you just the basic information, how many pages you have on here. Also, in this case, how many sermons, what version of WordPress is running, the current theme you're using. And a good thing to watch here is your storage space. So here's your 1 gig. It's written out in megabytes, so 1024 megabytes space allowed. And this particular website is using 9.92 megabytes, only 1% space used, so lots of space in this case. Activity will show you any particular activity that's happening, like if you've made a post, and it'll show you what all the recent posts that have been put up there. This visitor section is to do with analytics. So all the websites on the PCC Web are tied into the Google Analytics, and the plugin, which is now called Beehive Pro, will show your particular stats, sessions, users, page views, etc. So it's very informational to let you know who's been visiting your site. You can see the audience, top pages, traffic, and you can click on here to see all stats, so it gives you a more in-depth view of the metrics. Some of the key areas that you want to work with your website is the pages and the posts. The pages are what makes up your full website. Let's go over here, sorry. So example, your main navigation here, this is our home page, which we have titled Site Intro to Your Church. There's like who we are, our mission. I'll click on one of the other pages here. So this is another page, for example. And then like your contact page. This is another page, all of which you will put your content on. So let me just go in, and I'll go into our home page. So at the top, when I'm logged into the website, at the top you have a few tools you can use, and if you want to edit the page you're actually on, you go up to the top, click Edit Page. It will load, and you will see everything that's in the back end that you have on there. So right at the top we have, this is the title. So you put your title information in there, and in this block here, this is your text editor. And you'll have some basic features here. You'll see there's a visual tab and a text tab. Most people stick with the visual tab. The text tab shows you the content from a code perspective. So you see a lot of strange information there that you may or may not be comfortable with or are familiar with using. But if you're familiar with code, you can go in there and make changes, but we'll just stick with the visual mode. So here you have a few tools across the top that you can use to add treatments to your web page. So for example, down here you have this text is bolded. So if we wanted to do the same thing up here, we would just highlight it, the text, click on B for bold, and it's bolded. And just like that, that's all you have to do. Or you could also italicize it, click it again to remove it, it's gone. Other text, you can find another bit of text here I can use. I'll just add another line. New text. I'll highlight it and you can give another treatment. So instead of paragraph, you can create heading 1, 2, 3, right down to 6. So it makes it stand out a little bit more. These particular headings are, it's a small one. Usually H1 is fairly big, but these headings don't show a different size. Okay. So essentially that's how you can do that. So we can also do, let's see here, get alignment, line center to the right, back to left align. If you want to create a link to text such as there, you just click on insert link, put in your URL there, whether it's whatever it may be, http google.ca, for example. Within that, you can dig down a little bit further to some options and choose open a link in a new tab. So that would literally do that. You would get it open instead of like refreshing the page you have, it would go to a brand new tab. Okay. Over on the right-hand side is your publish box. So there's a few things you can do here. Right now, this page shows you it's been published because we're editing an existing page. You can edit and choose to put it for a draft. So if it's a new page you're creating, but you don't want it to go live just yet, you would just save it as draft. And visibility, you can obviously make it public. You can put it password protected. So if it's a page you just want to share amongst maybe the elders in the church and no one else can see it, then you can share the URL for that page, go there, and then you would enter the password that you shared with that. And private is, so only if you have login access to your website, then you can see that. And timing. So you can actually schedule this page to show up at a certain time. So this shows it's the date when this particular page was published, which is August 28th, 2013, a while ago. You can change it to a future date. So month, day, year, even time, hours and minutes, and it'll only appear when that time is reached. So once you set up the page how you like it, this button, if it's a new page, it will be publish. But in this case, since this page is already published, it's just update. So any new changes you make, additions, you would just click update and it would update that page. Featured image, that allows you to upload an image, and that featured image would usually be placed at the top of that page. So we'll kind of get into the adding an image part right now so you can kind of see what that looks like. So if we want to put an image at the top of that page, wherever you click your mouse, that's where your image or media is going to be placed. So you need to keep that in mind when you are placing an image in there. So go up to the top button here, it says add media. And now we have two options. We can either upload a new image from our library, and you have two ways of doing that. You can either click on select files, it'll go to your desktop file manager, or you can drag and drop. So if you have your file manager open, you would just click in a image file within there, drag it into this screen, let go of your mouse, drop it, and it'll load up. Or if you do have existing images in your media library, there's the media library tab. You can click on there, they load. You can select an image, and you have a few options. So right now this one just says layout 1, but that's not very descriptive of what this image is. It's very important to give good description to your images, and particularly in the alt text, which is short for alternative text. So if for some reason your image got deleted or is missing, the text that's in alt text will show up, so people know what is this sort of strange gray blank space. It will let them know what it is. So in this case, this is Presbyterian Church logo. All right, so you can put that there, and you can put it in the title. And if it's something you want to have a caption underneath, like you have an event like this one over here, there's an event happening here, you would type the caption information in there, a description as to what it is, and that caption information will show up below it. This is a direct link where on the server that file is. So for some reason you may need that, that's where you can grab it. You can play with the alignment. So right now there's none. We can put it over to the right. And you can also link to. So if you click on the image, when you see it on the live website, right now it's just going to go to the actual file itself, media file. You can have it go to a custom URL, like an external page, or another internal page on the website, or even an attached page. And here you can choose the size that you want to display, whether it's full size, medium, or in a small thumbnail. We'll leave it at medium. So then the next thing to do is click insert into page, and there you have it. So for example, so now let's go to that same page again we had. There it is, home page. I'll back up. If I update this page to the change that we made, which is just the image we added, and now I'm going to go back to the home page. I will refresh it, and you'll see the image added. So it's fairly easy to do. Now, this is one way in which to add images to your website. I mean, to your page, this is the main way, but if you wanted to add several images to your library, let's say to your media library, there is over here your media library, which we can go to, and you can see everything you uploaded so far, such as what we saw before when we were adding this logo. But here you can add images, add new. It'll take you to a similar idea where you can either select files to go to your file manager on your computer, or you can also drag and drop, as I mentioned before. And this will just add it to this library, not to any of the pages or posts, but just to this library. So when you are working on a page or post, you can access this from the existing images. All right, now posts are very similar. So click up here on posts. Posts and pages are the same thing. They're both posts, they're just treated differently. So in this particular site, there is no posts on there. So if I want to add new, once it loads up, you'll see that it looks very similar to a page. There's the title, here's your text editor, same as before where you put your content. Here's the publish as before. So as I mentioned, this is a new one, so you see publish and or save as draft, your status, visibility, and if you want to make it a future date publish. Categories, you can also add categories to it. Right now there is none, so the default is uncategorized, but that can be helpful for you now you want to display things in your website down the road and your featured image. So it's pretty much identical. Okay. Some other things that may be of interest to you. Let's see, I'll jump to our themes. So how is your website going to look? So themes, this is found under appearance themes. These are the themes that are currently available on the PCC website. The one on the top left, it's marked in red. This is the active theme 2011. You can choose from any of these that are existing ones, and if you want to kind of see what it looks like before you commit to it, you can go to live preview. and it'll show what your website will look like there. Now, from one theme to the next, all of your content is carried over, so you're not going to lose anything. The biggest change is usually on your home page. So, because each theme homepage is unique in how it looks. So some of the information may be saved, some may not. If you have like a widget, some pages have widgets, some do not. So in this case, we have this big image, default image of the plant. You may want to change that to maybe an image of your church. And the navigation is down at the bottom as opposed to up at the top in the other one. So if this is a theme that you like, you would just click on activate and publish, and away you go. But where we are right now is not just a preview of the theme, we're also in what's called the customization section. It takes you right there. So it shows that we're previewing the 2017 theme. We have many other options here that you can do to tweak your site. So you can play with these things, and if you like them, then you activate and publish. So we'll get out of here and I'll go back to the customize in a direct fashion. So if we want to customize our existing theme and website, you just go down a little bit further here to customize. And it's the same thing on the side, but now we see the actual current live website. So we'll sort of start at the top and the bottom. So the site identity is an important thing. This gives you the title of your church, what it may be, St. Andrews, etc., and the tagline. We put in like a default tagline there, but it's important that you go in and change that to whatever you want. And you can choose whether you want it to be displayed or not displayed. And nowadays we can also put in a fave icon, so like a favorite icon, site icon. So if you can see in the tabs I have across the top here, there's a little icon. In every one, it's the logo, because that's the one we put in down here. So if you had a different logo you wanted to use to represent your website or your church, you would upload it in here. And it gives you the dimensions that it's recommending. It should be square and at least 512 by 512 pixels. Going back, another item on the top, your header image. So here we have this one that is the image of a church. These are all the default ones that it gives you as an option to come with the theme. But of course, you'd usually want to put in your own custom image of your church, which is good. You can add more images. So if you have more images of your church, maybe an interior one of your sanctuary, you could add it to that list, and you can have the option to randomize it. What that does, every time that page is refreshed, the random image will show up. So it's not like a slider where it sort of changes before your eyes. It just randomizes every time the page is refreshed. And it's important to pay attention to the dimensions again. You can upload whatever size image you want, but when you go to post it, it's going to ask you to crop it, and it may or may not look right. You may have white space on the one side or the other side. So if you can pre-optimize the image ahead of time, this way it's showing, this one is showing 1000 by 288 pixels, then it will fit perfectly across the top of your website without pushing your content down too far or not leaving any white space on the sides. Background image, we usually advise not to add one because it usually distracts from the website. So a nice, either the default, which in this case is like gray, or just leave it as white, is always best. Menus. This is one that's missed by some people as well. Adding new pages to your website, they'll by default, they'll just kind of throw up in order. So if your first page you create, it'll be here. The next page you create, it'll just go there. And then if you don't structure your menu, they will all start, you're going to get one line and then another line and another line, and it's going to be this huge massive of pages that are very difficult to follow the structure to. So going into the menu, when you create pages, you can actually structure it, how it's going to look. And you can create more than one menu and switch between it as you want. So this one is just menu 1. Here's the pages. So on this level, as you can see, somewhere it's indented a little bit. The indent stands for a drop-down. So under who we are, there's a drop-down of these 5 pages. So as I go over here, you see that, and there's your drop-down, the same pages. These ones don't have a drop down because they're the individual pages here. So the next one is worship, and it has 3 items for the drop down. Worship, and there they are. Now, and you can see all of them are labeled as page, but this one here is this custom link. So with the custom link, you can change what the navigation label is. Like the page could be called something else. It could be maybe about us, but by default. But here we set it to be who we are. Now this is a little trick. This is a hashtag, a little pound, as you may call it. What that does, that just sort of lets it stay right where it is. So if you click on this item, it's not going to go anywhere. It'll stay on that page. So sometimes you don't want the top navigation item to go anywhere. It's more like a title for the drop down. So this is what this drop down contains, everything that's about who we are. Okay. Let's jump back out of the menus. Widgets. So widgets are a great tool. So in this case, in this website, this here is our main content area. Off to the side, this is a sidebar where all the widgets are located. So they're great tools to put in. For example, you would want your church location and address, your worship time, key things that people look for when they go to the website. So, and it'll show up on every single page, that sidebar. So the main sidebar, this is the only widget that's, location that's set up. You can see like the footers, we don't have any widgets in the footers right now. So the main area, we have a text widget, a recent posts widget, recent sermons, upcoming events, social media. So in here they are all stacked there. So the text one, you can drop it down, you can see here's all the content in there, and it still uses the same text editor as we showed in the pages and the posts. So you can add some treatments to it as well. So that takes you down to right there, available. So all this information right there is all within that text widget. The next one is your recent posts, but I don't think there are any. So yeah, so nothing's showing up for that one. So recent sermons, I think we have one sermon posted on here. So it's right in there. There's the sermon. So that can be handy. Upcoming events. So that's right here. This is our event calendar. So that can be displayed in several different ways. I think you have an option for that. It can be like, this is the agenda, which usually fits best for a sidebar because it is skinny, and a full calendar, you will be able to see the content of it. And there are options like for people to subscribe, or you jump right to the calendar itself, or even hide the widget on this on the calendar page. Because if you're on the calendar page, it's kind of redundant to have the agenda calendar on the same page. And then your social media widget, which gives you several different social media platforms that you can choose to add. In this case, there was Facebook and Twitter, and where you would use those links, these icons, and jump to your own Twitter or Facebook account if you have one. Let's jump out of the widgets. Okay, now, so the customized section is something relatively new that WordPress put together before. I'm not making any changes because we didn't make any. Yeah. So you can get to those features individually through, again, the appearance section. So menus, if I click them on there, it sees the menus in a slightly different layout, but it's not showing the customization. So you're not seeing the website over to the right, but you are still seeing the same structure. And here's where you can add your pages. So either you have pages you can add, posts. Here's the sermons, events, so even and your custom links. So lots of different things you can add in. And in this method, so if you chose a page, let's say news, you click add to menu, Where is it? When you slide down, it's right down at the bottom. And from here, you can just drag it. So say I want it to go in front of give, there it is. Or maybe I want it to be in a drop down. Just drag it down here within church life. Now it'll be under the drop down of church life. And you can even create a separate level. So news under kids and youth, it's there, but it's further indented. So now church life has a drop down here, and if you went to the kids and youth, you would have a flyout for news. There we go. So I'm just going to remove that. And let me see, widgets. Yes, I'm leaving the page. Same idea. Here's the sidebar we were working with before. And these are a list of all the different types of widgets you can use to put in your sidebar. If you had an image you wanted to put in, you just click and drag and drop it in the position you want it to go. Right there, it opens up, and then you can give it a title, click on add an image, which would take you to the media library tool to add the image. So we're not adding one right now. It's good.
Hi, everyone. It's Sylvie, James's colleague here. James, Barry asks if you would be willing to comment on the proper use of photographs or other potentially copywritten or sensitive material.
Okay.
James, maybe I'll jump in on this one since it's something
that'd be
I
great,
just actually gave a workshop on. Thanks for your question, Barry. This is Barb Summers, also from the Communications Office. I was actually just at the Atlantic Synod speaking on this topic recently because it is something that comes up pretty regularly for churches, and it's just definitely something to be aware of. There's some churches accidentally or maybe just unknowingly go on Google and use images that they find to represent, stock images. Say there's a church picnic and they just take an image off the web. That is not likely an image that you have the rights to use, and it is important to always make sure that we have the rights to use the images that are on the website. So there's different ways. There's the stock image issue, and making sure that if we're using stock images, we have the rights. There's lots of companies out there that you can buy a membership to or pay to use images. There's also Creative Commons, where you can use images that are in the public domain. But then the other issue is using photographs of people, as you mentioned, Barry, and there's a lot of confusion about whether or not we can do that. The answer in short, we can talk for a long time about this, and you can certainly contact us if you have more detailed questions, but basically a church is considered a public space. A church sanctuary is considered a public space. So if you're taking photos in your sanctuary, in your church hall, or something like that at an event, as long as you're open and upfront about what you're doing, that is technically legal. Of course, we always want to step it up a little and use best practices, and best practices are to maybe have a sign that says, we occasionally take pictures. Ideally, there would be an announcement made that you would say, today we're taking pictures of a special event that's going on. That's a good way to do it. Then if anybody has an issue, they can come and speak to the minister or to the greeters or to their elder and sort of say, I would like to opt out of this. On the website, there's a lot of different ways about how pictures are used, because we always want to show pictures of our church and the people at our church. We don't want to misrepresent ourselves by, say, using a stock image of a whole bunch of people that are never going to come to our church and maybe don't even live anywhere in the area. So it's best to use pictures of your own people. But there's things that come with that about pictures that are out of date, in particular pictures where people have maybe died. Now, you can go about it in two ways. It's a good idea to always talk to the family if that's a case where you have a picture of someone and they have died, because the family will dictate if the photo should come down or not. Just talk about it and just be aware of it in the background. You maybe don't always know what to do in advance, but just be aware that these are issues that come up. And then finally, I'll just quickly touch on church directories, because many churches have asked me about whether or not they should post their church directory. And in general, I say that no, we should probably not be posting our church directories online privacy and confidentiality issues, you're going to have you're going to have a lot of people who are not very happy about that. So there might be a special exception for your congregation that you need to look at, but in general, it's not a good idea. And then actually, I better just quickly say about newsletters. A lot of churches will take their church newsletter and just automatically post it onto their website. But again, just keep in mind, there might be issues about images, photographs, and when it comes to something like Leading with Care, where you share pictures of children and you maybe have the child's name on that, that is absolutely not to happen. So we need to check those before we just automatically post it on the website. That's a very long answer, but hopefully it gives you some high-level information about photographs and copywritten materials. It is an issue and you do need to be aware of it. Some churches have been kind of bitten by this in the past, and you just have to know that it can cause problems if you're not careful. And like I said, Barry, if you have other questions, you can reach out to our office directly.
Great, thank you, Barb. So I've covered a fair amount of items on regards to PCCWeb and how to use the interface. If there are, again, any more questions in regards to working with PCCWeb, please type them into the chat. Otherwise, one thing I may mention, we did have a previous webinar that Barb ran regarding key ingredients for a successful church website, which you can view under our previous webinars. So that may be something that can be useful with regards to not just working with your PCCWeb website, but what kind of content to place on your website. It's very thorough and a fantastic webinar. And okay, so if there are no questions at this point, I believe we'll close off the webinar. But like I mentioned before, this webinar has been recorded and you can reference it again. It will show up on this page I mentioned, the previous webinars page. And you're welcome to reach out to us at the communications department and ask any questions at all whatsoever, or call the office and you can speak to me directly, and I can work through any questions or concerns you may have with regards to websites on the PCCWeb. Thank you very much for your time for logging in, and have yourself a fantastic day.